Okay, viewers, another episode with you. Tonight, I have a very distinguished guest with me on my show, which is called Say Everything on Z9. This episode is going to be recorded in English. Normally, I speak kind of mixed language, Urdu, English, sometimes Punjabi as well, but this is going to be purely in English because I have with me tonight one of the most respected, a humble personality in the city of Brampton. She is the leader. She is the great leader, I will say. Everybody admire. Very humble, very polite, very delicate personality. Her worship, Linda Jeffrey, with me tonight. Linda, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very kind. Show. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. So, when I listened to you yesterday on one of the gathering, that was the Pakistanis kind of Muslim community gave you. I like the way you express that you are answerable to your voters, to the Bramptonian, and you are a public servant, and you feel proud when your voters are happy. That was the moment when I said I want to bring you on my show. So my first question to you, that a lot of people are now trying to unseat you, like some former MPs, some other political figures. They just want to try to kind of come forward and give you a little hard time. Do you think this is going to be a close race?
You know, I think elections are a time for people to judge who they want to lead them in the future. When I ran for the mayor's job 4 years ago, I think there were 16 candidates. And I was challenging the incumbent back then. And I think it's healthy to challenge incumbents. And I welcome the conversation that we're having during this election, because people do have a very clear choice. They can choose somebody who's been at the federal level and really hasn't achieved anything. They can choose a current member of council who've been there for 30 years and done nothing. Or you can choose somebody who doesn't live in Brampton and believe the stories that they are going to fix everything. So I think this election is about choices. It's about continuing on a strong direction, about doing things differently, to make sure that we have a good working relationship with the federal and the provincial government. And I think that my voters have been watching what's been happening the last 4 years. I've worked very hard to change the culture in City Hall. We had a City Hall that wasn't accountable, wasn't transparent, wasn't respectful of the taxpayer. And I promised I would come in and change things. I would do things differently. And I think that you're hearing from lots of candidates. I think there's 7 of us now who have put our name on the ballot, and it's a very clear choice about who you want to lead your city. Do you want strong, capable, experienced individual leading it, or somebody who's risky, who may be dangerous to the city of Brampton?
Definitely. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And my next question to you is, if you're elected for one more period of 4 years, right? So 4 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So what are those 3 short-term changes or steps that you're going to take that you feel that this time I'm going to try these 3 steps right away, short-term, in 3 months period?
That's hard for me to say. There's lots of things that I want to do. One of the first things I would like to do is to stop us spending $4.4 million to study 2 routes that parallel the LRT. So remember the conversation we had at the city where council decided not to support an LRT route in our downtown when we said no to the province by 1 vote. We said no. So council then decided to spend $4.4 million to study 2 adjacent routes that are not funded by the province, and the province hasn't said yes to. So to me, that's a waste of money, so I would do that immediately, would get rid of that. I think there are other things. I want to work on the university, so Ryerson University is coming. I want to work on building a new library in our downtown, so hopefully some of those designs would be available to our residents. Having a beautiful architectural set of buildings in our downtown will help bring jobs. So I'm working on bringing those jobs. I think that really helps. I think also having a conversation with the provincial government about healthcare are probably the three things that I have to talk about. We have a lot of people coming to Brampton. 40 people a day move to Brampton. 40 people a day come to Peel, and they make Brampton their home. And right now, our emergency room at Brampton Civic, it's built for 180 people a day. 400 people come every day. So that means our emergency is overwhelmed with a lot of traffic. So I need to have a conversation with the provincial government to make sure that they're going to make the investments in healthcare that we need immediately. So education, transportation, and healthcare are probably my top 3 issues right now.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's wonderful. I'm so impressed.
I'm going to have to move fast after the election, that's for sure.
That's right. So there's a perception, Linda, and I've heard, that you were a little cozy with Queen Park in Ottawa in terms of bringing funding for the Bramptonian. Do you think this is a right perception about you, or just the people thinking?
So I think I have a history that people don't understand. I was a municipal councillor for 12 years. And then I went to the province for 11 years. And in the first year I was in the legislature under a Liberal government, I voted against my government because they brought legislation forward that hurt my city. And most people would think, well, if you do that, you'll never get promoted. Well, I was the Minister of Labour, the Minister of Natural Resources, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and I was the Chair of Cabinet. Pretty good for somebody who argued with their government. The last 4 years that I have been a mayor, I tried to work with the Liberal government, but I also argued with them. My job is not to say nice things to you if you're hurting my city. So my job is to fight. My job is to be aggressive, to push, whether it's the federal government or the provincial government, to do things for my city. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation. My job is to argue, to advocate, to bring evidence, to demonstrate it's a good investment. So I've worked with the federal government. This last term, I had 5 federal Liberal MPs who I try to meet with on a monthly basis to tell them what we need in Brampton, where we need the investments. If that's cozy, then it's cozy. I will work with anybody that helps my city. What I have done in the last few months since the new government was elected under Premier Ford, I have gone to Ottawa to meet with each single minister that I could. I met with Minister Tobolo, who is the new Minister of Corrections and Community Safety, to talk about crime. Crime in my city is something that concerns all of my residents. And Minister Tobolo is actually the member for Vaughan, but while I talked to him, I learned he lives in Brampton. So I asked him about the guns and gangs money that they gave to Toronto. I said, bring some of it to Brampton, because the criminals and the bad guys don't care if you're in Etobicoke or Mississauga or Brampton or Toronto. They'll go where the business is, and I need that investment in my city. So I talked to him, I asked him about his ride-along that he did, and Minister Tobolo told me he did 3 ride-alongs. The one that he did in Peel, in Brampton, he was the most frightened. So that to me is very alarming, and I'm going to keep talking to him along with Chief Evans to make sure that we make the right investment for my residents. Because when I hear that somebody I know gets robbed and they wait 3 days for the police to show up, that's too long. My residents deserve better. They need a champion. They need somebody fighting. So I will be respectful of other levels of government, but I'm going to push them to deliver results for my residents. They expect me to do that.
Great, awesome. So I actually had a question around that Hamilton-like Coast program, right?
Yep.
You're aware of that, right?
Yep.
Do you have that in your mind to draft something like that, like a preventive action rather than things happen and then you kind of
react?
Yeah, react. This is a word of like predictive analytics and you be prepared before it is done, right?
Yep.
It's a kind of that approach using the state-of-the-art technology available in the market to kind of come up with the idea to kind of be there before it happens. So what steps do you have in your mind that you will take towards that?
So my job right now, I am on the Police Services Board. There are 7 people that sit on the Police Services Board. I'm the only mayor that's been there for the full 4 years. And my job, my employee, is Chief Jennifer Evans, the Chief of Police. What we do as a board is set policy for the chief. And the chief brings in programs that she thinks will work. We don't tell her how to do the job, but we tell her where the problems are that we see. Our chief is somebody who uses best practices. She looks at other municipalities. She attempts to bring in new programs where she thinks those resources are needed. I work with our police officers to bring new programs in. We have had programs that the province has funded in the past. Sometimes those funds don't stay and the province pulls them back. So some programs we start, but they don't continue to get funded. I've been focusing more on making sure we have enough officers on the street rather than the programs. The chief has a chart that she's shown us at the Region Appeal. And on the chart, it shows how many officers per 100,000 of population. We're on the bottom of the chart. I guess that makes us efficient, but it doesn't make my residents feel safe. We have fewer officers than they do in London, and in Ottawa, and in Hamilton. I'm pushing the chief to have more officers. Whether they're in the COAST program or any other program, if you don't have enough officers, you're unable to react quickly when crime happens, and you are unable to be proactive in making sure you're talking to businesses, to schools, to young people about what's going on in the community. I think we used to have community policing stations. I like them because people could go in and talk to the police officer if they saw something that worried them. I think having officers on the beat, walking through business areas, riding their bikes through our parks, they're all ways that officers use the intelligence gathering they get from the community to help them do a better job. What we are doing at the city recently, though, is I initiated a community safety plan. Why does that matter? It means that we take down the silos. What schools are doing, what municipalities are doing, what businesses are doing, what our community partners, our healthcare partners are doing. A lot of us are doing work in the community, but we don't talk to each other. We need to take those walls down and talk to each other. And that's what a community safety plan means. The police are not responsible for community safety by themselves. We own it. We need people to be looking out for our neighbors, watching what's happening. If you see something suspicious, you should talk about it. You should say, did you see what happened just down the corner? Did you see who's parked in that driveway? That's not the car that should be there. We need nosy neighbors to be asking questions and looking out for each other, because that's how the criminals, they don't want you paying attention. They want us to be, well, I'm too busy, I'm not going to say anything. They want us to be so busy that we don't talk to the police. The police cannot do their investigative work without all of us talking together and sticking together and making it uncomfortable for the bad guys to come into our community.
Wonderful. Awesome. You're a really good speaker.
Thank you.
Honest. That's great. Okay, one thing that I feel, I am a very recent resident of, I moved from Calgary. So in Calgary, I used to have a recreation center just in front of my house, kind of just a kilometer far from my house.
You were spoiled.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So because of that, my son's like good in sport. You know, my son is now selected by a basketball team in US on prep school this year.
Wow.
But he was struggling to find a good place to go and practice. A club, a run and dunk club, which is a Brampton club, is now a national champion. I don't know if you know that or not.
We have a lot of good athletes in
That's
Brampton.
right. National champion means
Yes.
before university there was a team this year. My son was part of that team. A Cassie Campbell is kind of a facility, but it's hard to even find a half an hour for the kids there. Do you think we need more kind of Cassie Campbells?
We need more recreation.
Yeah.
We need more, and the more we can keep our young people busy, the better, because I want to keep them active and I want them to be successful. We're a city that's growing. We're a city of 600,000. We're predicted in the next 20 years to grow by another 300,000 people. When I got elected 4 years ago, We were not managing our facilities well, we were not taking care of them, we were not planning our city properly. There are parts of the city that have no recreation, and there are parts of the city that have lots of recreation. But we weren't planning our city properly. We were essentially just building subdivisions and lots of houses. Good city planning requires a plan. And what we've done this term of office for the first time is developed a parks and recreation plan. That's going to guide where we spend our money for the next 15 years. So it gives predictability to the community about where those services are going to be. But we also have fields that are outside the recreation centers that we are not developing properly. We have women's field hockey, we have soccer players, we have kabaddi tournaments, we have cricket, we have baseball. We have a lot of people that are good athletes, and we have the ability to host tournaments. And recreation is a great tourism driver to our city. So this recreation master plan will help guide what we do for the next few years, where we put our investments. But when I got elected back in 2014, that summer that I was running, we had 2 recreation facilities, 2 arenas, where the roofs failed. That means they were breaking. That means we weren't taking care of our facilities. So for the last 4 years, we are doing something called an asset management plan. You're in analytics, so you understand that. But for your viewers, it means that you need to keep a track of what the life cycle is of each one of your assets, whether it's a bus or a recreation center. You need to know where it is, and you need to take care of it and provide. So like in a bus, you'd bring your bus in and you'd change the oil and you'd put new tires on it, and you'd make sure that you updated the equipment. The same thing happens to our recreation facilities. If you don't take care of them, they break, they fall down. They aren't pleasant places for people to come and work out or to bring a tournament. So we're doing a better job. We're managing our assets better, to the point where I brought in Jim McCarter, a former provincial auditor, to give us a game plan. How do we take care of our assets? And now we're putting 2% away every single year to take care of our assets. Because it's like buying a house. You can't put new furniture in the house if you don't take care of the roof. If the roof is leaking, your house fails. We as a city, we're failing to take care of our assets. So it's a long answer, but we want your son we want him to be successful wherever he goes, but we got a lot of young athletes coming up, and we want them to perform well in Brampton, and we want to give them the best facilities.
Viewers, you're watching Ali Dover on Say Everything on Z9 with Linda Jaffrey joining us tonight, and this is the time for the break, and we'll come back shortly. Stay with me. Thank you so much. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Once again, your host Ali Dover with tonight Linda Jaffrey, her worship. I'm really thankful to Linda to join us tonight. So we have already gone through many of the very key questions, but I am still left with very, very important question that I would like Linda to kind of answer those also on this show. The most important one that everybody is looking for and exciting to kind of see a great university coming in Brampton. So Linda, when is going to be fully operational?
So let me just take you back a little bit, because this was a really great achievement. The past council applied for a university but didn't bring the right partner, so they failed. So when I got elected, I promised we weren't going to fail. And we interviewed probably 4 universities, and Ryerson was the best. It was the cool university. They had great ideas and ambitions for the city. They got to choose. So they did a partnership with Sheridan. So they brought in an application and they brought it to the province. And I just want to remind everybody, because I think maybe people don't remember. At the beginning, the province was going to only build a university in Milton, in Halton, or Peel. It wasn't both. So I went to the Premier and said, you have to bring one to Brampton. Brampton is the 2nd fastest growing city in Canada and the 9th largest. And I have no university. And look at the population that I have. We need a university. So I harassed the Premier, and she agreed to do both. So Ryerson became our partner. They did the best application, the whole blue ribbon panel that I put together. They said Ryerson knocked it out of the park. They were the best. And I think a lot of people, when they think of universities, and I went to Arundel College campus for U of T, and I think of universities as a lawn and trees and buildings in the background. And I think a lot of people still have that mindset, but universities have changed. So if you go down to Ryerson University in Toronto, it's smack dab in the middle of Toronto. It's Yonge and Dundas, and all the buildings are all around it. And if you go into their main campus building, it's so beautiful, has beautiful architecture. And all the buildings around it, there's probably 30 buildings that are all part of Ryerson campus. So we're starting with one building, and Ryerson had probably 10 locations to choose from in Brampton. But they chose on top of our GO station, on top of the parking lot. This is the beginning. And we as a city have done a land banking all around it through the transit terminal and all the buildings that are south of the transit terminal, we pretty much own. Because we want to help Ryerson build a great building that they're going to go up 8 to 12 stories. They want to, 2020 is when they see themselves opening their doors. But we actually understand that they will be offering some classes maybe in City Hall next year. They're doing work with the Chang School. The Chang School wants to build some capacity earlier than the building being open. And for those that don't know what Ryerson brings to the table, they want to build a national center for cybersecurity. So many of your viewers, probably yesterday or the day before, saw a huge breach on Facebook. Yep. This National Center for Cybersecurity is going to help stop hackers getting into our private data, whether it's policing information, healthcare records, banking data. All of those private information are being breached by people who can hack into the system. So Ryerson has a very ambitious idea. You and I both know university degrees take about 4 years. Well, Ryerson's talking about building a degree that will be 16 months. They want to go very quickly. And when I was talking with Mohammed Lashmi, the president of Ryerson, we brought in somebody else who has become kind of the godfather to this new university, Jim Basili. And many remember that name from RIM and Waterloo Kitchener. He was very successful in building BlackBerry. He's helping us. He's bringing cybersecurity experts to the table to build programming that not only will be good in the classroom, but will be good in the private sector, so that you will get classroom experience, but you will work with the private sector and learn how to make those classroom experiences work in the private setting. We have people that are leaving our country to go and hire overseas because they can't find graduates in cybersecurity in Canada. For the first time outside of New Brunswick, because that's the only other place where cybersecurity is taught, we'll have graduates from Brampton, good paying jobs. People will snap up those graduates as soon as they're finished their courses. So that's very exciting for us. And we at the city, we're all in. We unanimously, the council decided to put $150 million into our downtown. We're going to build a new central library, a new center for innovation. So people with good ideas will be able to bring those ideas, like a digital media zone that Ryerson is used to building. We're going to help our innovators, our entrepreneurs, come up with good ideas, monetize them, and be successful wherever they take their business. So awesome. We're very excited.
So that subject is actually my subject.
Good.
Data governance around the data.
Yep.
And data, this is sensitive personal information, which is called SPIs, protecting that.
Yep.
And by the way, let me tell you, I have two of my class fellows. They went to US in 1998. They opened a company called FireEye.
Oh, okay.
That is a cyber security company.
Yep.
They was listed 5 years ago on NASDAQ on $2.2 billion.
Wow.
One of my class fellow, he got millionaire because of that, because he has 2% share.
Yeah.
And his boss, he was also Pakistani, he was 10%.
Yeah.
So my class fellow is there. He's a doctorate, PhD in this subject.
Good.
Anything that you need my help, I can bring him to be, kind of give you some ideas around that. He's in Silicon Valley right now. and serving fire.
Well, we want them to come back. We want them to be excited about Brampton, and,
Yeah.
and they're going to be able to hit the ground running in Brampton. And just about 2 weeks ago, my federal MPs brought Minister Sudgeon in, and he was talking to us about some other things, but he also talked about the fact that the RCMP is interested in this school and training the kind of talent that we're going to need to protect all of the security needs that we have in the city of Brampton, and across Ontario. So I'm very excited. Mohammed Lashmi and I hit it off immediately. We're excited, and I'm really proud that they chose Brampton. They chose our city to be a partner with, and the first time they're building their campus outside of Toronto, they chose Brampton. So we're happy.
That's wonderful, awesome. That's good to know that.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you one more question. It's not hard. You talk about having like tall buildings in Brampton.
Yep.
That's kind of long-term, right? It's long-term plan.
No, it's going to be soon, very short. In the next 3 years, you are going to see the landscape in our downtown change. We have, I think, 7 applications. You're going to see 7 cranes in our downtown in the next 3 years.
Wow.
This Ryerson and what we're doing in downtown Brampton is actually a magnet for people. I've had people from China, from Turkey, from the Philippines, from the UAE come to my office who want to invest in Brampton. And do you know what? Do you know why? Because of the population that I have. The average age is 35, very diverse, as your audience already knows, very well educated. That's the talent pool that business needs that they want to hire. I have it all around Brampton.
Wonderful. Viewers, are you listening? This is a great talk, to be honest. I wanted to discover all what Linda has actually secrets in her mind. She could have expressed many yesterday, but I wanted to bring her on my show to tell you all that Brampton is going to be a very, very attractive city. If you are thinking to move, already she's saying daily 40 people are coming. This is a tremendous, marvelous number, to be honest. It's an elegant city this is going to be. I know from, I belong to Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, the South Asian people, the first choice is Brampton. Because Brampton, you can go and walk and eat what actually you have been eating in your country, like a samosa, pakora, and saag and makki. There is a special bread is called makki. That bread is available, readily available. You can go to any. To be honest, when I moved here, people used to say, "Me, Ali, you moving there? Go to Oakville." I said, "Oakville, okay." When I came here, I came to Andhra and walk and eat whatever I have been eating and searching in Calgary, and used to drive 50 kilometers to find that kind of food, and I can have that right just in front of my house. I live right on Steeles and Mavis, and there is an Indian restaurant. You know that, right? So, then one more question.
Sure.
We have a masjid going on, Ibrahim Masjid, on the corner of Clementine and Mavis.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yes, I do.
So they guys are struggling. They have the paid land. They have $1 million raise, but they still need a lot of money.
Yeah.
That masjid is not going to be only masjid. That is actually going to be our community center for the seniors, for the carers, for the. What kind of help you can give them to expedite that project?
So I have talked to them already. We are moving along on the process. I would say that, as I said, when I first got to City Council, the way we dealt with businesses, faith-based institutions, applications were very slow. Unless you were building a subdivision, we weren't working with those faith-based organizations. And anybody who's trying to build a mosque or a temple or any faith-based institution, the city doesn't know how to work with them. And a lot of them are volunteers. And the money they raise is very hard to raise. It's from donations, right? So we're not doing a good job. What I can do is I can bring people together, and I can make sure that you talk to the chief building official, the fire official, and bring all the people that help with the plans and give you certainty and give you a sense of when it will be done. We have many beautiful facilities that people are building in and around Brampton that, to me, those faith-based institutions, they're the safety net. They're the place where our young people go to learn about their culture, about their history. They become better members of society. They're the place where our seniors go. where they can work with our young people. They're the place that I find are the most generous when something goes wrong. They're the first group to do a blood donor clinic or a food drive. They're the first group to clean up a park. So for me, they build the fabric of Brampton. So in the past, we haven't done a good job. A new council will help. You have some experienced members of council that are retiring in this election that really haven't been working with all of the community. We need councillors who show up, that help you solve the problems, not just in the mayor's office, but across the city. People who understand planning, understand engineering, who can help navigate what is sometimes a very complicated process at the city. So I'm working with that particular message to expedite the process. We've had some very good conversations. I think you'll see something built very soon. They've been working very hard for a long time. They've been raising money, and I think you'll see something in the next few years. It'll be beautiful.
And I saw you on their barbecue party. And
yeah, we've talked. We've talked a number of times. I think that there have been misunderstandings and miscommunications. The city owns a lot of that problem. We don't know how to work well with other groups unless you're building a subdivision. The development community has done very well. We've got to do some other things that build community partnerships and strengthen the city.
One more question, just from the question, because I think yesterday Fassi Sayed met you, right? You know that guy, Fassi Sayed. He's the president of Unity in the community.
Yep.
And he helped Trillium Hospital raising $50,000.
He's a great volunteer.
50,000 pound food.
Yep.
And now we are driving, and I'm also one of the executive with them as well.
Good.
So we are doing a blood donation drive. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're aware of that. Mm-hmm. So a camp is going to be, I think, next week at some point in Brampton.
Good.
We would like you to invite you there as well, and we want your full support because we bring 3-4 major projects. I'm very new with Fassi Sayed, but we need your support to kind of help us to do something for the humanity together.
I'm happy to help, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for volunteering. You make the city better, you make it stronger, and you build links. You know, I think one of the challenges, I think, between a lot of different ethnic communities is sometimes they feel like they're different. We're not different. We want good healthcare, we want good education, we want a better life for our children and our grandchildren, and we need to build bridges between all the communities because we want the same things, and sometimes we're afraid to open those doors, to try a different food, to listen to a different music. But for me, Brampton's cool. Brampton is interesting. It's got great restaurants, it's got great art, it's got great athletes, and I'm excited. I'm proud to represent Brampton, and I'm lucky. I've got a great, diverse community that is generous and looks out for each other.
Linda, it's 21 days left.
Yes.
You have 3 cameras in front of you. This one is yours.
Okay.
That one is when you want to see it together.
Okay.
That one is mine. If you look towards this camera, whatever you want to say, this program needs to say everything to your voters, to your supporters, so that they come forward and elect you one more time. Please.
So I want to thank you for the time that you gave me today to talk about what's happening at the city. And in 22 days, you get to make a decision. You get to make a decision about where you want this city to go. Right now, in a municipal election, 1 in 3 people vote. So that means that if you stay home, someone else is going to make a decision about your city. You get 4 votes when you go out to the polling station. You get to vote for mayor, city councillor, regional councillor, and school trustee. I encourage you to get out and vote. Don't wait till election day. Actually, you can vote in the advanced polls. I think there's 8 advanced poll days that you can get out and vote. Go take your mother, your brother, your uncle, your aunt. Make sure everybody gets out to vote and cast your decision. Decisions are made by those who show up. This is a great city, and you have an opportunity to decide who will be your representative for the next 4 years. I want to thank you for your strong support 4 years ago. It's been my honor to be your mayor. There is more work to do. We've achieved a lot, but there is more work. I promised you that I would bring you a university, and I have. I promised you that I would cut my salary by $50,000 every year that I was mayor. I did. I promised you that there would be more accountability and transparency, and that we would run the city more like a business. And I have. With your help, I will be able to do more in the next 4 years and bring you better results, lower taxes, and more pride in the city of Brampton. I encourage you, please get out and vote on October 22nd. Please vote for me. My name is Linda Jeffrey, and I've enjoyed being your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, viewers. This was tonight's episode of Say Everything on Z9. I really respect the way she speaks humbly. She say very strong words, but so politely. Sometimes people just don't think that what she actually delivered. Very, very important that you make a conscious decision of your heart. She has done a lot, and I have seen that too. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next episode soon. Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you, Linda.